When I turned on the television, there was a Mae West commercial. If I turned on the radio, there was a commercial. If I went to a restaurant, there was a picture, or I flew all the way to Houston, Texas, and was there for a couple days. And the bathroom door was a 7-foot tall door with her picture painted on it.
You know, most people call that synchronicity, but you'd call it really trying to get you.
But so I said no.
Okay, yeah, but that's channeling, but you don't do that. How did that happen?
No, because years ago I was fascinated with it. You know, in the 80s, a lot of people
you experimented?
People came forth with, it was a new thing, and I was like everybody else. I was kind of curious, but I sort of was holding back a bit with that. And then in my personal preference, I asked God to make me an instrument of joy, and that I wanted to be conscious because I wanted my own soul to evolve as I'm working with someone else. I'm appreciating it too and can apply some of it to my life that's completely new and different. So you might say that I'm conscious. I don't go into a trance. I want to remember everything. It's a party. I want to remember everything.
Without mentioning any names, can you tell us like some of the work you've done, the kind of people you've helped, any stories that you can tell us? I think you had some healing stories. I think you. I've
worked with every. When I lived in Los Angeles, of course I was working some with the movie industry, and I found it the difficult clients because they're manic. Some of them were very manic and very depressed, and the alcohol and the drugs, and you can imagine. And so I realized that was not necessarily what was calling me.
They're not very I mean, I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings, but it's not really a spiritual type of environment. They're more for the moment and the physical.
Spirit's everywhere. It's just what it calls to you. You have to discern.
Well, I mean, like working with people, like you said, the drugs and everything else. I think people there are more concerned about the physical part of themselves. You know, there aren't that many people, I would say, that are that interested in developing. Or am I wrong? Maybe I've never been down there.
I never looked at it quite like that. People are people. They're individuals. They're souls. They're unique unto themselves. There's not another one of us on the entire planet. We're that unique in our DNA. And so I watched what was attracted into my life. I watched where the lessons were, and I work over the phone, and I do a lot of different kinds of workshops. That the last one I did is called Becoming Fearless, because my God, we do need to become fearless, I think, now. Stand up for what you believe. Stand up for that introspection of asking yourself the right questions. Be honest with yourself, because if you don't know your fears, then you are entertaining a mind virus that's creating your future. So if you can neutralize the fears and get into opportunities of thought and creativities, then that's what you're going to be entertaining energetically, and that's what you're going to manifest in your life.
The law of attraction.
The law of attraction.
Yeah, the law of attraction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I brought some books that I was really, because we were talking about empowerment, and I think that we have to be really careful about what we think. One of the books I really like, and I'll hold it up, but the camera doesn't have to get it unless they want to, and I'm not sure which camera wants to get it, but I really like this one. I think you told me when I brought that.
Incredible.
Biology of Belief. What I love about this is a doctor, and you know, people will say, oh, my mother had diabetes, so I'm probably going to get it. My dad had a heart attack at 55. Oh, I'm almost 55. I'm really scared. And he's saying that what you're believing, you're going to manifest. You don't have to believe that.
You started developing a belief system, believe it or not, in the womb. And when I do a life reading on someone, I'm looking at the child in the womb, and that child, I've never had a duplication, and that child starts telling me about what it took on while it was in 7 months. It starts at 7 months. That's where I see them, at 7 months. And then it talks about the mother. It talks about what it's picked up from its environment, whether it's afraid or whether it really might not want to come through. How it even shows up psychically is sort of like a picture. So I have to decode the picture, and it moves me on. And it's just as if I wanted to figure out what's going on with you in the last 48 hours, I would just ask this young part of you what's been going on, and she would show up and start moving around and start giving me information. Yeah,
you're making me feel naked here.
Well, I don't intrude though. I don't go walking around psychically all the time. Where I'd be, my little battery would get really.
Yeah, you'd have to recharge. And how do you recharge?
I live in the most magical place. I have this beautiful home in Aloha. It has a river, a creek that flows behind our home, and when we have a lot of rain, I have a river. I've got 40-some trees on my property that are over 75 to 85 feet tall.
Good energy.
The ground is sitting on an old riverbed, and so if you dig down even a foot, you're going to find these river rocks about this big. And the house is an unusual design where it's got lots of light that comes through into the house. And I don't get sick. I watch what I'm eating.
You take care of yourself.
I take care of myself.
Yeah, it's important.
But I don't do too many things where I get so drained that I'm vulnerable psychically, and that can happen.
Well, you don't do your clients any good when, you know.
I don't see people if I don't feel well.
Yeah.
And if they're sick, I don't see them either. I mean, I'm not going to you know, want to take that on. Yeah, so it's an adventure.
It is an adventure
Especially
for you.
if I bring them into that environment. I've had people come through the front door and they don't say anything. They're just sort of hit by the field, you might say, and they'll sort of stare off, and I'll let them because I'm watching their field, and I'll gently just barely touch them, and I'll say, "Are you feeling this? What are you feeling?" And they'll go, "Wow, I can breathe. I feel so."
We can set out that good energy, can't we?
Oh gosh.
I have a psychic friend who told me that she and her other friend who was into metaphysics, they were throwing out this white light in the neighborhood, and people were saying, "Oh, it feels so good around."
Well,
good around here.
It was a combination of what's there that's natural, that is a pure life force that everybody that comes there tells me that they don't want to leave. And then the combination of my energy and that person. But what it does when I'm working with them in my office at home, it sets up this very intimate kind of experience for them where trust is established. They feel very, very special. I tape everything that they're
they feel
receiving.
cared for.
They feel safe.
Yeah, safe and
If you don't feel safe, you're not
No,
gonna,
you're right.
you're not going to drop down the
I think the other part is, you know, people who go to people with your talents, they do believe, but they have, some of them may have this like, you know, prove it to me that you really have that ability. I'm sure you've had people like that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I had a gentleman
Why
in the
don't you tell
radio-
me about that, or tell the audience, because I think we may have a few audience questions. So you talk about that, and I'm going to walk down here. Tell us some stories while I walk down here, okay?
There was once this engineer at a radio station, and he said, "If you're so good," he said, "you'll tell me your colors." And I said, "Well, your colors are yellow, green, and blue, and in that order." And he looked at me and he said, "You scare me." And I said, "Why are you scared?" And he said, "Because those are my colors." And he ran away. I mean, this was a person that surprised me that scared him, just to have somebody tell him that he thought of these colors. And later, when I was on air, we went to a commercial, and he said, "Well, if you're so smart," he said, "then tell me what I'm doing." And I said, "Well," I said, "you're not doing what you really want to do." And I said, "You're writing a screenplay." And I said, "You've been working on it for 3 years." And I said, "Don't you think it's time to really take this really serious, because it's going to be something that could be successful for you?" It hit into him in such a beautiful way, and he knew I was serious. And it was what he needed at that moment, because he had so much talented as a writer, and what he was writing about needed to go out into the world. So that's pretty much, you know,
your job isn't dull.
sharing.
You don't have a dull job at all. But we have
No, I don't.
we do have an audience, and we have an audience member here. You give us your name and your question for Badeish, please.
My name is Sean. Hi, Badeish.
Hi, Sean.
I think I have a two-part question. I'd
Okay.
like to start with the most obvious. Lately, I'd probably say in the past maybe 4 to 6 weeks, and it's been happening more and more,